Let us learn about Java Server Pages. Java Server Pages or JSP is a Java technology that aims to help software developers to create dynamically generated web pages based on HTML and other related web technologies. JSPs are similar to other server-side technologies such as PHP, ASP, etc. Knowledge of web technologies such as XML, HTML, JavaScript, CSS, etc. will be very handful while working with Java Server Pages. In this video, we will discuss about following topics. A look back into servlets, introduction to JSP, JSPs compared against servlets, why JSPs are actually servlets, JSP lifecycle, and finally some references. Before learning about JSPs, servlets, or any other server-based technology such as PHP or ASP, you need to understand one thing. Irrespective of the server-side technology, web technologies like HTML, JavaScript, and CSS are only the things understood by the client browser. Hence, the purpose of server-based technologies like servlets, JSP, PHP, or ASP, etc., is to generate this HTML code along with any JavaScript or CSS as required. Let us do a quick recap of servlets. Servlets are actually classes in Java, and they allow to embed HTML code through the use of print statements inside Java code. Servlets are special classes that can respond to different types of requests, like the HTTP request. Servlets and JSPs are web components in Java and need a web container like Apache Tomcat or an application server like JBoss to run. While web containers usually implement the servlet and JSP specification, an application server will also contain EJB container and other specifications like JPA, JMS, etc. Servlet also has a lifecycle. Servlet's lifecycle events are class loading, instantiation, and then init, service, and destroy method calls. Class loading and instantiation are common for all classes. Init is called once in the beginning, destroy is called once in the end. Service is called for every request made to the servlet. As you have seen, servlets allow you to write HTML within Java using print statements. If you look into the source code of any web page using view source, you may see thousands of lines. This is the home page of javajee.com. Let us do a view source. To write print statements for all these lines of HTML code, it will take a lot of time. So JSPs are really making your life much easier than other ways. You will also not get other benefits such as to make use of any standard HTML design tools for designing and many others if you are using servlets instead of JSPs. JSPs are Java's solution to all these problems. While servlets embed HTML within Java, JSPs embed Java with HTML. Servlets and JSPs will also need a web container or an application server. JSPs generally has the extension of .jsp, but there are also other types of JSPs like JSP document that does not have a .jsp extension. Let us quickly compare JSPs with servlets. As discussed earlier, servlets are Java classes with HTML inside, and JSPs can be considered as HTML pages with Java inside. JSPs have few advantages over servlets as we have already seen. One, we can make use of web design tools. Many web design tools will allow you to design using a GUI without actually writing HTML code. They can work with HTML pages or even with JSPs, but will be difficult to work with Java classes that contain HTML in print statements. 2. In many production projects, there will be designers who know web technologies like HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. Asking the designers to learn Java and work on servlets will be a big ask. Asking Java developers to learn and do designing might also be not a good idea. So, which one should we use? As a practice, if you have more HTML code, then go for JSPs. And if you have a little or no HTML code, but only Java code or logic, use servlets. After all, JSPs are actually servlets, as you will see next. JSPs are actually servlets. Container will generate servlets from your JSPs. So containers finally execute only the servlets. The generated servlet must follow some rules such as they should implement HTTP JSP page or the JSP page interface. Container vendors usually will have a specialized JSP based servlet. For example, in case of Tomcat, JSP based servlet class is org.apache.jasper.runtime.http JSP base. You can also find the source and compiled class available at work Catalina localhost context directory org apache JSP folder inside your Tomcat installation. This is my Tomcat installation folder. I have a web application with context as Java EE demo installed in this compact, and it has a JSP index.jsp. Its corresponding servlet source and compiled class files can be found at work Catalina localhost Java EE demo org Apache JSP. So you can also view this file. I'll explain this file in more detail in another note or video soon. Next, we will see the JSP lifecycle. Lifecycle is a set of activities that happen during the lifetime of a product. Servlet's lifecycle contained class loading, instantiation, and init service and destroy method calls. JSPs are also converted to servlets by the container, and hence its lifecycle is also similar to that of the servlet, with an additional phase in the beginning called JSP phase translation. This JSP page translation phase converts the JSP into a servlet. Other steps like load, instantiation, JSP init method, JSP service, JSP destroy, etc. are very similar to that of servlets. JSP page translation is the first step in the lifecycle of a JSP page. Page translation consists of three phases: validation, translation, and compilation phase. Validation phase consists of syntax checking, and references to tag libraries, actions, and EL functions in the JSP page extra are also validated. Don't worry, we will see all these things in detail in later notes or videos. Before validation, JSP page is usually converted to an XML view, and this XML view is then validated and translated. Next phase in the lifecycle of JSP page translation is actually translation. As discussed earlier, you can find the output, source, and compile classes in a particular location in your particular application server. And in case of Tomcat, we already saw the location where to look for. And final stage of JSP page translation is compiling of the source code. Load and instantiate are similar to servlets. Few important points to take note are: 1. Servlet class generated is loaded using application's class loader. 2. For every servlet mapping declaration of the JSP in the web.xml or the deployment descriptor file, a new instance in addition to the standard JSP file instance is created. 3. We cannot create a constructor for the JSP page as the JSP page itself is automatically generated by the container. So you cannot create a constructor for your JSP page. Container will itself create a no-R constructor and then it will instantiate it. JSP init and JSP destroy are also similar to the init and destroy methods of the servlet. While JSP init is called at the beginning, JSP destroy is called at the end before the instance of the JSP servlet is nullified and garbage collected. Both of them can be overridden. Another JSP service method is called from servlet's service method, which is called by the container for every request made to the servlet. In general, we should not override this method. However, the JSP specification is flexible enough to accommodate and allow any request response protocol that we need to implement by overriding this method. And override this method only and only for that particular purpose. Finally, here are some references for reading about the topics we discussed till now. Thank you and hoping to see you soon again in another video. Bye.